Hello, welcome to a new episode of What is Happening in Brazil. Here's Brazil's latest news to keep you up to date.
This was Carnival week in Brazil. The country's biggest party saw thousands of people gather on the streets of its main cities. Beyond parties and fun, there were protests during the celebration. Street party groups protested against the ultraconservative government of Jair Bolsonaro. Some, with feminist themes, spoke about the importance of respecting women's bodies and demanded they be given more representation.
Feminism is a battle that needs to be continuously fought everywhere. Although Carnival is a party, we must never abandon the fight and make it ever more visible.
Women's bodies don't belong to them, right? We have always been hassled, and this has always been normalized. I think it's time we say enough. To touch me, you need my permission.
The other big attraction during Carnival in Brazil are the Samba Schools. In Rio de Janeiro, the biggest hub for this form of expression, the three best-ranked schools talked about the influence and presence of religions with African origins in the party. The big winner, Viradouro, spoke of the breadwinners of Itapuã, a group of women that since the end of the 19th century tell life stories through song while working on the streets of Salvador, the capital of the state of Bahia. The parade showcased the kinds of things the women did to buy their freedom during slavery, like washing clothes, carrying and selling water, cooking or selling food. Right at the beginning of the parade, a praise to Oxum was made, the Lord of Fresh Water worshipped in Candomblé, an Afro-Brazilian religion. The first float had the athlete Ana Julia swimming in a large aquarium. The only black person in Brazil's synchronized swimming team, she was dressed as a golden mermaid, an allusion to Oxum.
On this last show of February, we are going to talk about Yemanja, known in Brazil as Yemanja. She is the queen of the oceans, the deity of motherhood and female fertility. In Afro-Brazilian religions like Umbanda and Candomblé, Yemanja became one of the biggest orishas in Brazilian culture and identity. And today, researchers are investigating her political and historical origins.
Marlene Crespo is an artist, illustrator, and the author of the book Yemanja, Ocean Goddess. The story is about Marina, daughter to fishermen and great-great-granddaughter of slaves. She finds out about Yemanja's history and comes into contact with ancestral African kings and queens who came to Brazil.
This book is part of my research, how the origins came to be in Brazil, the myth of Iemanjá, which is part of our folklore. I like researching these kind of stories. They are good for me. It shows the proximity and assimilation of our culture with the wider truth of traditions.
The story of Yemanja is one of the most emblematic and traditional ones in Brazilian culture. According to Cláudia Alexandre, journalist and religious scientist, this is due to the fact that this character has many different cultural and racial roots within her.
It's a construct that unites all the beliefs of Brazilian people. We see Yara from Amazon mythology. We can go back to mermaids of Greek mythology. We also see Yemanja for African tradition. There are sacred feminine elements that come from water, and that mass religiousness constructs and represents as Yemanja. This Yemanja is part of mass religion.
Though entrenched as a larger figure of Brazil's racial diversity and religious syncrecy, the researcher points out the importance of the debate that seeks to re-Africanize the goddess, seeing her as a symbol of African descendants through worship at temples and the fight against violence and oppression.
This association must also be seen as a form of resistance and within a black African logic. When you talk about Yemanja, is she black? The goddess Yemanja is black. In the minds of Brazilian masses, Yemanja is white, with long hair, dressed in blue. These are discussions that are led by people who seek to resist through their traditions.
As Brazil faces crisis and unemployment, more and more people in São Paulo have been resorting to meal programs where they can buy meals for R$1, roughly a $0.25. In the past, it was usually homeless people who would use this kind of program. But now, these centers are also welcoming locals who are not homeless but are also struggling. Watch the story of the week.
Overcrowding in low-budget restaurants all over São Paulo, one of the biggest evidence of the sudden decline in income of the Brazilian population. Meals served for as little as R$1 are attracting the unemployed workers and those living in nearby neighborhoods.
The economic crisis and lack of jobs is bringing people to low-budget restaurants. Initially, the program was intended for them, homeless people, people in vulnerable situations who had difficulty in finding food. However, today this profile has changed. We're seeing people here that are eating due to lack of income.
The high cost of living in big cities makes it impossible to eat outside the household.
In regular restaurants, it would be impossible. I have lunch and dinner at home, but when we are out like this, it's too expensive. A meal like this for R$1 is very important.
I work with apps, you see, on my motorcycle. I'm on the streets all day long. I come because of the price and also hygiene.
Lídia Maria goes to the restaurant in the Campos Elíseos region downtown every day.
Lately, I've been having all my meals here. I don't come only when it's closed. Thank God, nowadays I'm working. I was out of work for a year. Even though I'm employed, I don't pay rent. I think it's very difficult.
Now it's time to learn more about the delicious flavors of Brazil with our segment Brazilianism.
Oi, meu nome é Daniela.
Hello, my name is Daniela, and I'm gonna teach a puba cookie recipe. Puba is a dough made from fermented yam. The ingredients we will use are 1 cup of puba, 1 cup of ground Brazilian nuts, half a cup of brown sugar, 2 cups of powdered cocoa, 3 spoons of coconut oil, and 1 egg. We are going to mix the cup of puba with all the other ingredients. Butter your cooking pan with coconut oil, then shape the cookies. You can see it's really soft, but in the oven it dries up and gets crunchy. Now, all you have to do is put in a preheated oven at 200 degrees and wait around 40 minutes, or until it reaches a crunchiness that you like.
That's it for now, everyone. I see you all next week.